authorized any organization or individual to carry out such exercise on its behalf or on behalf of the Ogun State government. The ministry, however, urges the general public to disregard the demand notices of the companies and not pay into any organization's account, as such is not authorized by government of Ogun State, the statement concluded. The need for stakeholders within Nigeria's security circle to step up their games in protecting the citizenry from perpetrators of criminal acts commonly found among the youth will not only save the nation from the brink of social crimes, but will also assist in building a better tomorrow. This was the opinion of some Nigerians who spoke with Ogtv News on the rising causes of crime, effects on the nation, and how best the trend can be checkmated. Peter Falomo has the details.
It is generally believed that the digital age, commonly referred to as internet revolution, has turned the world into a global village. But the advancement in the technological world has no doubt created a side effect in crimes among some youths in Nigeria.
Most of our young ones now, most of them goes into drug. Before they do anything, you see them smoking, some of them going into smoking cannabis, and even stronger thing than even cannabis. And this time around, you see them going to a party and you hear something like squishy, you see them drinking some certain mixture of so many things.
According to respondents, some of the youths in the society are indolent, arrogant, and not ready to put up personal efforts to create jobs so as to become useful to themselves and the society at large.
We hear recently the 1 million boys in Lagos, I mean a lot of, cult boys that are really bringing up are now really emanating and probably perpetrating a lot of evils now.
Another challenge I see there is the population itself. The birth is not even controlled. You see some part of this nation that, yes, people just shun out these children, not minding how the children are to be catered for.
They highlight the effects of increase in crime rates against the development of the nation.
It is not giving the country a good name, one. Two, most of our investors, most of the people that will want to come down and invest are having the fear. There is no business you set up now that if you employ our youth, about 40% of the youth you employ will want to defraud that company and make whatever they can make out of that place. So it is indeed affecting our nation.
Economically, it's not even helping government. In the station, government puts a kind of a structure somewhere, and because of some people that have bad minds, they will go there and come and vandalize such structure. Definitely, government would continue to spend a lot of millions of naira to put it into infrastructures, and some people go there to go and pilfer the rails, pilfer the windows, a lot of things, thereby costing government more.
How then could the challenge be checkmated?
We engage the growing youth. While in the assembly we passed a resolution reminding ourselves of how it was before. That is the days of while they were in school, so many extracurricular activities. We should ginger the interest of the children in these particular areas.
The agricultural sector is there. The anchor borrower is there. You see the way government are actually bringing our youth. Look at even in security. The Amotekun we are talking about, the youth will be employed. So many of them will be employed and trained. These are the kind of things that we can do.
They submitted that crime fighting should not be left alone in the hands of the security personnel, but must be collectively fought in order to build a robust, strong, and economically viable nation. Peter Falomo, Ogtv News.
The Nigerian Correctional Service said it has released 3,751 inmates comprising convicts and awaiting trial persons who met the criteria set by the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy. President Muhammadu Buhari had ordered the release of the inmates as part of measures to decongest the custodial centers and curb the spread of COVID-19. The exercise was flagged off at the Kuje Custodial Facility, Abuja, on April 9 by the Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, with the release of 72 inmates. About 2,600 were earlier scheduled for pardon. but the NCOS spokesman, DCC Austin Njoku, in a statement on Thursday said some state chief judges during the jail delivery processes released some awaiting trial persons, culminating in the discharge of 3,751 inmates so far. It said the NCOS wishes to state that the process is ongoing as other measures are in place to ensure continuity, and the final figures will be made public at the end of the exercise. A breakdown of the release shows that 2,740 convicts and 1,011 awaiting trial inmates have so far benefited from the exercise. The statement further said the Comptroller General expresses its profound gratitude to all the state governors, chief judges and other stakeholders in the criminal justice system who worked tirelessly to carry out the exercise and ensure its continuity. The Kaduna State Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has deployed 3,000 of its personnel to enforce the ban on intrastate and interstate travels before, during, and after the Eid al-Fitr celebration. In a statement signed on Thursday by the command's public relations officer, the security's global government support for war against COVID-19 now stands at $9 trillion. More on the business segments of the bulletin shortly. You are welcome back. The total assets of banks rose to 42.2 trillion naira as of the end of February. A member of the Monetary Policy Committee, Dr. Rafidade Sanusi, disclosed this in his presentation during the last MPC meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Total assets of the industry have grown from 38.57 trillion naira in November 2019 to 42.89 trillion naira in February 2020. The rise in the assets of the banks shows an increase of 11.2% within a period of 3 months between November 2019 and February 2020. Total credit to the economy has also continued to increase from about 15.69 trillion naira in February 2019 to 17.62 trillion naira in February 2020. To prevent food security crisis after the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, the federal government has promised to provide 12,550,000 kg bags of NPK fertilizer ahead of this year's rainy season farming to be sold at subsidized price. The chairman, Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, Alhaji Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, said at a briefing, he said his committee had imported enough phosphate and potash needed for the production of the fertilizer, while urea and fillers were being sourced locally. The chairman added that between 2016 and last year, President Buhari, under the initiative, delivered no fewer than 19,050,000 kg bags of NPK fertilizer from 2 blending plants across 13 states. The global government support for the war against COVID-19 now stands at about $9 trillion, $1 trillion more than the figure it released just over a month ago. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has said. According to the IMF, the breakdown shows that direct budget support is estimated at $4.4 trillion globally, and additional public sector loans and equity injections, guarantees and other fiscal operations such as non-commercial activity of public operations amount to another $4.6 trillion. IMF in its global fiscal monitor said that the upward revision was largely because of a second wave of measures by governments as the economic fallout from the pandemic proves more severe. The crash in demand for liquefied natural gas in Europe has posed a threat to the federal government's revenue from the exports of the commodity. The Nigeria's LNG Limited, which was established to harness Nigeria's vast and natural gas liquids for exports, is jointly owned by the federal government and 3 international oil companies. The country generated $0.03 billion from gas exports in 2019, according to data obtained from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. The collapse in crude oil price has added to pressure on the LNG prices, some of which are linked to oil. The Group Managing Director, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Yari, said in March that over 12 LNG cargoes were stranded in the market globally for the first time ever. The federal government's bond for the month of May, worth 660 billion naira, which were auctioned on Wednesday, were oversubscribed by 365.18 billion naira, the Debt Management Office has disclosed on its website. The total subscription received from investors for the bond was 425.18 billion naira, comprising of 81.89 billion naira for 12.75% FGN April 2023 bonds, 154.10 billion for 12.5% FGN March 2035 bonds, and 189.19 billion for 12.98% FGN March 2050 bonds. The auctional results added that 76.61 and 87 successful bids were recorded from 98,107 and 136 total bids of the 3 bonds auctioned. The DMO had auctioned 320 billion naira bonds each, making a total of 60 billion naira for the 3 offers on Wednesday. That was the business segment of the news. Now to foreign news. Scotland to relax lockdown restrictions from May 28, 2020. This and more on the World Today after this break. Lockdown restrictions in Scotland are likely to be relaxed slightly from 28 May. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has said as a trial to see whether 2 anti-malaria drugs could prevent COVID-19 has begun in Brighton and Oxford. Details on the World Today.
A trial to see whether 2 anti-malaria drugs could prevent COVID-19 has begun in Brighton and Oxford. Chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, or a placebo will be given to more than 40,000 healthcare workers from Europe, Africa, Asia, and South America. All the participants are staff who are in contact with COVID-19 patients. U.S. President Donald Trump was criticized this week after he said he had been taking hydroxychloroquine despite warnings it might be unsafe. The trial is open to anyone delivering direct care to coronavirus patients in the UK, as long as they have not been diagnosed with COVID-19. It will test whether the drugs can prevent healthcare workers exposed to the virus from contracting it. Still in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said 25,000 contact tracers will be able to track 10,000 new cases a day. They will be in place by the 1st of June. It is unlikely to be a fully functioning perfect system by then. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer challenged the Prime Minister over the absence of a tracking system since March. Contact tracing is a system used to slow the spread of infectious diseases like coronavirus and is already being used in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Germany.
We will have a test, track and trace operation that will be world-beating, and yes, it will be in place. It will be in place by June the 1st.
The NHS contact tracing app, which is currently being trialled on the Isle of Wight and was initially meant to be launched across England in mid-May, will be rolled out at a later date, Number 10 suggested. Lockdown restrictions in Scotland are likely to be relaxed slightly from 28th May, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has confirmed. Ms. Sturgeon made the announcement as she unveiled a 4-phase route map aimed at restarting society while suppressing the virus. The first phase will include allowing people to meet outside with people from one other household. However, schools will not reopen to pupils until 11th of August. In Europe, a surge in visitors to beaches in northern Europe after coronavirus lockdowns were eased and temperatures rose has alarmed officials and experts. 3 towns in northwestern France shut their beaches on Wednesday because of the unacceptable failure of people to observe in social distancing rules. Municipalities in the Netherlands urge German tourists not to visit. And in England, the town council in Southend said it might take action after sun seekers flocked there. The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world has now passed 5 million. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned that there is still a long way to go in the pandemic and called on people in countries where restrictions are being eased to continue to adopt social distancing and other behavior to minimize transmission of COVID-19.
There have been 106,000 cases reported to WHO, the most in a single day since the outbreak began.
The authorities in France reopened hundreds of beaches last weekend for running, swimming and fishing, but not for sunbathing or picnicking. The eastern Indian city of Kolkata has been devastated by a powerful cyclone which has killed at least 84 people across India and Bangladesh. Storm Amphan struck land on Wednesday, lashing coastal areas with ferocious wind and rain. It is now weakening as it moves north into Bhutan. Thousands of trees were uprooted in the gales, electricity and telephone lines brought down and houses flattened. Many of Kolkata roads are flooded and it's 14 million people without power. The storm is the first super cyclone to form in the Bay of Bengal since 1999. Though its winds had weakened by the time it struck, it was still classified as a very severe cyclone. Coronavirus restrictions have been hindering emergency and relief efforts. COVID-19 and social distancing measures made mass evacuation more difficult, with shelters unable to be used to full capacity. At least 72 people have died in India's West Bengal state, while 12 deaths have been confirmed in Bangladesh.
That was the foreign segment of the news. Now to sports news. Coronavirus pandemic cost Manchester United in Asia £28 million. It is time for some sports stories after the break. The International Paralympic Committee has banned Paralympic champion Esther Oyema for 4 years after she committed an anti-doping rule violation. The Nigerian para-powerlifter who won gold at London 2012 Olympics in the women's 48 kg retained an adverse analytical finding for a prohibited substance in a urine sample provided on January 28, 2019 after competing at the Lagos 2019 International Para-Powerlifting event in Nigeria. As a result of the violation, Oyema will not be participating in the competition for 4 years from May 3rd, 2019 to May 2nd, 2023, the IPC stated on its website. She has also been stripped of the gold medal which she has won in the women's 55 kg event in Lagos, together with any points and laurels. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach says he understands why the rescheduled Tokyo 2020 Games would have to be cancelled if it cannot take place next summer. Local organizers have said they have no backup plan after the event was postponed by a year because of the coronavirus crisis. Bach said he hoped the first ever postponed games, which are due to take place from 23rd July to 8 August 2021, could prove unique and send a message of solidarity among the entire world, coming for the first time together again and celebrating the triumph over coronavirus. Manchester United say the coronavirus pandemic has cost them an initial £28 million and expects the final figure to be far higher. United revealed their third quarter results to 31 March on Thursday. Chief Financial Officer Cliff Batty said they are set to earn back £20 million TV revenue to broadcasters even if the Premier League season is completed. A total of 11 United matches have been postponed because of the pandemic. German second-tier side Dynamo Dresden have retained 2 more positive tests for coronavirus. The Bundesliga 2 club put their entire squad and coaching staff into isolation for 2 weeks after 2 players tested positive. Another player and the partner of a member of the coaching staff have also now tested positive for COVID-19. They will be placed under further quarantine, but the team will still resume training from Saturday. 8 footballers from top-flight Mexican team Santos Laguna have tested positive for the coronavirus, the club said Wednesday, jeopardizing attempts to restart the National League after 2 months of suspension. A decision on the possible resumption of the Mexican League, the Liga MX, had been accepted by the end of the week, and the tests were carried out with a view to resuming training. It also hinted that the situation at Santos Laguna could be even worse because so far only 22 results have come back out of 48 tests on players and coaches. Liga MX said the players with COVID-19 whose identities have not been revealed were asymptomatic. The president of San Luis, another club in the Mexican League, has also been diagnosed with COVID-19. And that was sports segments of the news. We now start with weather forecast for Friday. If it does not challenge you, it does not change you. And you can now watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Windows, BlackBerry, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch live on Ogtv website. And to end the news, the highlights of the news. The President, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Sultan Abubakar Sahad,